All right, so today we're going to talk about another cell division process. This is a cell division process called meiosis. And what's happening during meiosis is the creation of sex cells. So it's a little bit different division process than what mitosis was because we are creating sex cells. Sex cells only have half the number of chromosomes of a normal cell. And that would be so that when they combine during fertilization, the chromosome number gets restored back to the full number. So if we're talking about human cells, we're going to be creating sex cells, egg or sperm cells that have 23 chromosomes apiece in them, not 46. So meiosis is division of a sex cell. Another way to look at it, the creation of egg and sperm cells. All I'm really going to present to you today will be terminology that'll get us ready to have a better understanding of the meiosis process. One of the terms that you are going to hear used to describe cells would be somatic cells. Somatic cells are referring to our body cells. Okay, so this is any cell in our body but a sex cell. And our somatic cells for humans have 46 chromosomes in them. That is the human chromosome number. So another term that we apply to describe a somatic cell is the term diploid cell. A diploid cell is referring to any kind of cell that has the full number of chromosomes in it. So again, any cell in our body besides an egg cell or a sperm cell is going to be a somatic cell. It would be diploid in number. That would be how we could use the term diploid. And that would mean that it has 46 chromosomes in it. Now, our sex cells have to come from somewhere. They just don't randomly and magically appear. And the type of cell that will create a sex cell is actually called a germ cell. So we have these specialized germ cells in our body that are going to at the correct time develop into an egg cell or a sperm cell. So in general, they're going to develop into a sex cell. So these germ cells will go through the meiosis process and then mature into a functioning sex cell in a process that's called gametogenesis. Kind of like that word. The general characteristic of a sex cell is it has half the number of chromosomes in it compared to a body cell. So for humans, we would have 23 chromosomes in our sex cells. The term that we use to describe that is not diploid, but is haploid. And that means it has half the number of chromosomes in it. So for humans and most other animal species, the sex cell of a male is a sperm cell found in the testes. This is a little symbol for male. In females would be an egg cell, and these are in the ovaries. For males, in humans, males do not begin producing sperm until they reach puberty. In females, the female is born with all her egg cells already in her ovaries. So as the fetus was developing of a female, it also created egg cells through the process of meiosis. So when that female is born, her egg cells are basically in place in the ovaries. Now here's a term to get used to. I will use it, books will use it, worksheets will use it. The term is called a gamete. And a gamete is a fancy word for a sex cell. Could be sperm, could be egg. It's just a fancy word for sex cell. Now, in the plant world, the male sex cell is the pollen grain. And it's called an ovule in the plant in females. And that ovule, once it's fertilized, will develop into the seed. All right, another term that's going to get used quite a bit is that of homologous chromosomes. That again is pronounced homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes are matching chromosomes. And I just abbreviated chromosome there because I'm getting tired of writing it all out. Our chromosomes are numbered by pairs. Actually, in a body cell or somatic cell, we have pairs 1 through 23. So our homologous chromosomes are technically our pairs of chromosomes. They are organized by their size, by their shape, and they contain the same types of genes. For example, let's say pair number 1. Pair number 1 is your largest pair of chromosomes, so they'll be very similar in size, they will be very similar in shape. Let's say, for instance, and I don't know that this is true, but let's just say, for instance, we find the gene for eye color on pair number 1. So that gene for eye color is going to be on pair number 1. It's not going to be on any of our other pairs of chromosomes, just on pair number 1. It'll be in the same position on each one of those chromosomes of the pair as well. Now, our homologous chromosome pairs 1 through 22 are called the autosome chromosomes, the autosomes. So pairs 1 through 22 are the autosomes. Most of our genetic information that we have would be found on pairs 1 through 22. So the majority of all the proteins and everything that are being coded for, all of that genetic information is generally on pairs 1 through 22. And again, those are called the autosomes. However, we have 23 pairs, so there is one pair left over, and that last pair for humans would be the sex chromosomes. So pair 23, the last one, are considered to be the sex chromosomes. In a female, that last pair will match, and they will look like two X chromosomes. In a male, that 23rd pair will be a mismatched pair, and we call it an XY combination. The first chromosome really will look like an X, but the last one doesn't necessarily look like a Y. It's just considerably shorter, and it doesn't match the X chromosome whatsoever. So if a baby is born a female, and you were to look at all 23 pairs of chromosomes, she would have 23 matching pairs of chromosomes, with that last pair being an XX that matched up. If we were to look at the 23 pairs of chromosomes for a male baby, the first 22 pairs would match, but the last pair would be a mismatch, and that's considered to be the XY combination, and that traditionally gives us a male. Now, I'll be talking when I get back about some things that happen or can happen with this XXXY pairing of chromosomes. This makes it look like anytime you get an XX, you got a female. Anytime you get an XY, you got a male. That is definitely not necessarily the case, and we will be talking about that when I actually get back. One additional fact about meiosis is the cells that are created during meiosis are not genetically identical. So we know that they are haploid cells. In the division process, we actually split the pairs of homologous chromosomes from each other, and one of the chromosome of the pair will go into one, for instance, developing sperm cell. The other will go into the other developing sperm cell. And we don't necessarily split that pair, always inheriting one of the pair from the mom, one from the dad. And that's where those homologous pairs come from, by the way. One of those chromosomes of the pair came from your mom, the other one came from your dad. And we'll talk more about this. I know what I said is probably just fairly confusing, and so I'll talk more about that later. But we end up with haploid cells during meiosis, only 23 chromosomes in each one, and then the cells are genetically unique. That means they are not the same as one another in their combinations of the chromosomes that they have. Some of them would have come from the mom originally, some of them would have come from the dad originally. And this is awesome because it creates genetic variety within the species. And genetic variety is a good thing. Helps keep the species healthy. It also means that you don't necessarily look just like your sibling or look just like one of your parents. So genetic variety is a positive thing, and we'll be talking a lot more about that at a later date.